A standard building inspection provides information about the property's structural integrity, safety, and compliance with relevant building codes and the overall condition, but it doesn't assess how healthy the home is. I was recently standing in the backyard of a Sydney home explaining how to conduct an exterior inspection for mould with my students, when every 14 minutes I had to stop talking as there was a plane only a few hundred metres above us. The noise was deafening. Now, as a building biologist, it's important to identify the biggest elephants in the room, so to speak. And one of them is the hazards associated with living under a flight path, which thousands of homes in Australia are subjected to. I'm Dr Nicole Bijlsma. I'm a building biologist with a PhD in environmental health. And for the past 25 years, I've been measuring the hazards in the built environment that most building inspections miss. Today, I'll be focusing on what it means to live near an airport or under a flight path, because there's more to it than just noise. Sydney is Australia's busiest airport with over 340,000 aircraft movements a year and sits about 9 kilometres from the CBD. Now, tens of thousands of homes in the inner west, including Mascot, Tempe, Botany, Marrickville, Sydenham, are among the most flight path affected residential suburbs in any Australian city. There are numerous pollutants associated with airports. Here are the predicted emissions from Sydney Airport from the Australian National Pollutant Inventory, documented in the Sydney Airport Master Plan 2039 report. They include ultrafine particles, particulate matter, carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen and sulfur, all of which are associated with adverse health effects as documented in the latest World Health Organization's 2021 Global Air Quality Guidelines. The most well-established hazard living near an airport is exposure to ultrafine particulates released by jet engines. They're particles so small that they pass through your lungs and into the bloodstream. Now, monitoring downwind of LA Airport found particle counts up to 5-fold higher than background levels within 10 kilometres downwind of the airport, and a 2-fold increase 16 kilometres downwind. At Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, particle counts tripled 7 kilometres downwind and stayed measurably elevated 40 kilometres away downwind from that airport. At Boston's Logan Airport, particle counts doubled 4 kilometres downwind. Now, this matters because of what these particles actually do. Ultrafine particles deposit deep into the alveoli of the lungs, where they can pass into the blood and reach vital organs, including the brain and the nervous system. Emissions of particulate matter by jet engines is estimated to cause up to 21,000 premature deaths each year globally, according to the latest European report. A major 2026 systematic review, which is a compilation of studies of this, found long-term exposure to ultrafine particles induces inflammation and increases risk of cardiovascular and respiratory disorders, including high blood pressure, atherosclerosis, stroke, heart failure, and death. Now, ultrafine particles aren't the only issue. Aircraft exhaust also emits other pollutants, including nitrogen oxides, sulfur and chlorine from the fuel, and metals, some from engine wear, some from aircraft tires and during landing and takeoff. Now, aircraft also emit volatile organic compounds, which are a gas at room temperature, as well as carbon monoxide, though there's a lot less research directly connecting these to adverse health outcomes. In addition, downwind of airports, air exhaust particles may chemically evolve into new secondary pollutants beyond the original plume, but there's still a lot of research that needs to be done on that. And of course, then there's the noise. Chronic aircraft noise at night has been linked to high rates of cardiovascular disease, disrupted sleep, and in children, measurably slower reading development, sometimes even below the noise levels that regulators treat as safe, which is 45 decibels. Many flight paths home will exceed that. And let's not mention the contamination of the soil and groundwater from the PFAS used for decades in firefighting training at airports and military bases, the so-called forever chemicals that don't break down and may cause serious enough health impacts on the health of entire communities. Investigation reports identified PFAS, contaminated soil, groundwater and surface water at almost every airport in Australia, including Sydney, Melbourne, Gold Coast, Canberra, Adelaide, Perth, Launceston. Low altitude aircraft can also cause structural vibration, a less studied effect, but well worth mentioning, especially for residents near flight paths. Now, you might think if you can't hear the planes, you're not affected. But the UK government's own air quality expert group confirmed that aviation pollution can be significant many kilometres from major airports, sometimes well beyond where the noise complaints stop. So before you rent or buy near a flight path, here's what to check. Does the property sit under a flight path, or is it positioned 16 kilometres downwind from the airport where the pollution travels? What's the actual noise reading for that suburb? Spend time at or near the property to gauge this before you buy or rent. Has the airport ever used firefighting foam for training? And if so, think about the potential soil contamination if you're thinking about growing veggies at the property. And if you're already living close to an airport, my general advice is to keep the windows closed during peak flight activity and consider an appropriately sized air purifier fitted with a genuine HEPA filter, at least in the bedrooms and in the spaces. Once you know, you can't unknow. Follow, because the research exists. It's just not being told.